do is walk into a room with big hair and bright lipstick because people don't know what to expect. And then when we start talking technicalities, it blows their minds, right? And so challenging that is, I think, a place to start with what does it mean to actually create technology. No, you're not a technologist just because you use Facebook or you post on Instagram. That's a great start, but we want you to think about what it means to create the next Instagram or to create the next social media platform that allows a level of engagement. Perhaps for people who are like you or who like interests like you, because it's really what engages and embodies what it means to create community. And I think for our community, for us as Black women and girls in particular, what does it mean to have a community in a space where there's so few of you that to just stick around and thrive, you need to see that there's somebody else who looks like you in the space. And so thinking about what it means to engage with technology is a start, but think about what it means to create technology, just as a way of making our lives better, is the next level. That's a great point. So along that line of myths and misconceptions, Afua, like you're a computer engineer by training and an MBA. What would you say is some of the biggest misconceptions about even like what it means to be a computer engineer, or just even some of the work that you've done in various stages in your career? What's a misconception you think?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that computer engineering is boring. I'm biased because it's what I do. But there are a lot of different types of engineering. There's a lot of different types of science. And I think sometimes when people imagine what's a techie look like, what's an engineer look like, they always imagine someone who is in a back lab somewhere, who doesn't really see sunlight, who doesn't like people, who can't speak, who can't write, who is just not interesting at all. And I think, as evidenced by people who are right here now, I think we're pretty interesting. But there are lots of different types of engineering. There's lots of different types of people who do the work. The story you were sharing made me think back to one of my first projects at the FBI, and was being briefed by some engineers who were talking about engineering things, not using engineering words. And I interrupted and I said, it sounds like you're doing this, and use the actual engineering terms and the algorithms and the sorting mechanisms that they were using. And they literally stopped their presentation and said, oh, you're technical? I said, yes. And they went, we're gonna have to give you a different presentation. Okay, let's schedule it, thanks. And so I think, really looking for the types of issues that you find interesting, where your passions are. There's technology involved in making that better. There's technology involved in doing that, and figuring out what that is and how the tech can help that.
That's great. So we talked a lot about sort of like early on in the pipeline in terms of supporting girls, but let's talk a little bit about some of the issues that affect. So let's say you make it through, you get a STEM degree, and you go into either a graduate program or you get a job. I would love to explore some of these issues that affect young Black girls or young Black women at different stages. And one thing I love to talk about personally is imposter syndrome. Anybody heard of imposter syndrome here? Okay, quite a few of you. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically this inability to internalize your achievements, and you sort of feel like a fraud. You feel like, oh, I got in because I was lucky, and not that you got there because of merit. And this is something that I struggle with a great deal when I got to grad school. So I would love for, maybe let's start with you, Quincy. What are some issues, maybe aside from imposter syndrome, and if you've had any experiences with that, please feel free to share. But what are some of these other issues that sort of affect us, even within the culture of these work environments, when you do finally get Black women to go in the tech space?
Yeah, so I can answer both parts of that. I've definitely experienced imposter syndrome. In fact, the way in which I met Beverly was actually because she and I were supposed to be on a panel together. So since we're family, Jamika established that, I'll tell the real story. She and I were supposed to be on a panel together, and you get the invitation, and I had accepted it. I didn't know who else was going to be on the panel. I got the email, and it said Beverly, I think Dr. Gwendolyn Boyd was on it, there was someone else on there, and I was like, oh shoot, like, I didn't know that's what this was. And I honestly, totally panicked, and was like, I don't think they meant to invite me to this. And totally was like, I can't do this. And I'll be honest, I had someone stand there, I sent an email and was like, I'm not able to make it anymore, however, so-and-so will take my place. But I really wanted to see the panel, right? So the crazy thing is, yeah, right, exactly. So totally,
You got invited, you were gonna not go as a speaker, but you'll sit in the audience.
oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
So like the syndrome part of this imposter thing is real. So, and then after I went, the panel was awesome. And as it was going on, I was thinking, oh man, I could have done this. Like I so could have done this. And then I was mad at myself. And afterwards, I introduced myself to Beverly, and she was like, what? Why are you here? You're supposed, and that, I mean, that's literally how I met. But I mean, I was so overcome with the imposter syndrome and thinking that I did not belong on that stage that I literally did not do it. And that was just something that I've never done before. I mean, lesson learned. And so the other thing that I'll say that
I was gonna ask you, how do you combat it? So we don't want you to remain a prisoner of imposter syndrome. What's a tactic you use to overcome?
I just say yes, and I tell other people around me, I tell my sister circle that what I'm doing, and I just get as much encouragement and support. And when I feel like I'm chickening out, there are people who I call and say, yes, I agreed to do this, and I really don't want to. And I get and I get the support and encouragement that I need. They come, right? They're sitting in the front, they're cheering me on. And it was just a lesson learned for me, an experience that I grew from, and that's what we're talking about iterating, right? I grew from. And so I always keep that in the back of my mind as a time where I could have done something awesome and spoke and shared my voice, and I didn't, right? For all sorts of reasons. The other thing that I'll say that we do experience is isolation. And so I've been in experiences where I was, there was one other Black woman there, she was slightly older than me, everyone who thought she was my mother, my sister. I don't know how they couldn't imagine that there were two of us who had just met like everyone else. She's not my sister. I don't know her. So I think those are experiences that that we definitely have, where we are one of I'll say the only, and it can be the work can be fine, all of that can be fine, but it's lonely, and that affects us.